Hey, it's Mike over at fishyourassoff.com, and today what we're talking about is catching speckled trout with swim baits. You know, spotted sea trout, speckled trout, depends on where you live in the country, where they have them, what you call them, but the official name is spotted sea trout, and they're actually not a trout, they're in a drum family, like a croaker or a redfish or a black drum, but anyways, they look like a trout. But I want to talk about how swim baits catch the heck out of them and why swim baits are such a great bait to use. A lot of people forget about swim baits. You know, they're fishing with jigs and all these other things, or the topwater lures and hard plastics. A soft plastic swim bait is like one of the easiest baits you could use. Just a no-brainer. Anybody can use it. Your first day, you can tie one on and go out and catch a ton of fish. Whereas other ones, it's the technique. You know, certain lures, it's all about technique. You're not just gonna go out there the first day and learn how to walk the dog right on a topwater lure and catch a ton of fish. You just really need to know how to work your jig if you're a jig fisherman. You gotta learn these things. Not a swim bait. Cast it out. Oh, fish. There is nothing else to it. The swim bait itself makes all of the action. Sure, you'll catch more fish if you cast it out there and give it a twitch every now and again, because that's just the way fish are. Sometimes they're like, and they're following it, and then they're like, ooh, that moved funny, and that'll get them to strike. So, easy bait to use, super easy bait to use. One of those baits when it comes to fishing for speckled trout, where you can cover the entire water column, because you don't know where they're gonna be. I mean, sometimes they're just crushing it on top, and sometimes you catch them kind of midway in between. Depends on water temperature, depends on time of the year. Sometimes they're all the way in the bottom. You know, in the winter time, you got to fish deep for trout, especially when you're fishing in the morning. Well, where I am, if you're somewhere cold, you probably got to fish deep all day. Swim bait's a great bait to do that because you can get it down to the bottom. You just increase the weight that you have and get it down there and just reel it past them. You know, you want to move it more slowly when the water's cold, so it's even easier. You cast it out and you're like, oh, trout. So it's one of those real easy baits, and they're not very expensive either. I'm going to show you some of the ones that I like. Here's one. It's by Berkley. It's called Power Bait, and these are $1 a piece. Now what's great about them though is they're already weighted and balanced, and they're already set up with a hook, a super sharp hook. So these things are good to go right out of the pack. And they come in all kinds of sizes. These are 4 inches. Here's a little one. All right. And notice they're already rigged up and ready to roll here. And they're pretty tough plastic, so they don't get torn up too much. I mean, unless there's bluefish or mackerel in the area that are gonna destroy whatever you use. But what's great about it is this paddle tail, and they make their own action. So you're just casting them out and reeling them back in. Here's some more versions. I like paddle tails best. Any kind of tail that's going to make its own action, I would consider a swim bait. You know, anything, you don't have to do anything. So that one's from Charlie's. It's a little longer. And the one I fish most of the time, I mean almost always, is the 3-inch DOA cow paddle tail. I mean, to me, you can't really go wrong with this lure. You know, I rigged that up with an 1/8 ounce, 1/4 ounce, even 1/2 ounce jig head, depending on how deep the water is, and you can just catch speckled trout, tarpon, snook, redfish, flounder, whatever. Everything. So they're just great. And you know, I fish them kind of like a jig because I'm usually bouncing things on the bottom and just doing things there, but I don't have to. For speckled trout, you just pitch that thing out there and vary your speeds until you figure out what you need. And I want to give you a comparison here. Okay, here's one of my favorite baits. This is a DOA Terror Eyes big one. So it's just a larger version of their Terror Eyes. I actually will troll this behind my kayak. You know, it's about 4 feet of line here and a bobber just to catch tarpon when I'm fishing for tarpon with a live bait or something else. So this will be behind the boat, and I'm pitching a lure or something else to the tarpon. This will be back there just forgotten about, basically. And this thing, and the first thing in the morning and later in the day, will catch tarpon. It doesn't do anything. It's just going like this in the water. It's not putting out vibrations. This thing doesn't rapidly go back and forth. So this is one of those, if you were going to fish it without a bobber, when I do fish it without a bobber, you got to pitch it out. You know, really give it a lot of your own action, right? When you're retrieving this thing, bounce it off the bottom, whatever you're doing, however you're fishing with these things, you're going to have to make your own action. You don't have to do any of that when you're fishing with these swim baits. I'll give you another example. And these are all great baits, and they catch a ton of fish. But I'm just telling you, you gotta work. That's a 5.5 inch soft plastic jerk bait. DOA makes these too. Here's another one. I like fishing light colors for clean water and darker colors when the water's dirty. But that right there, to fish that, I'm gonna pitch it out. I'm gonna be like, twitch, twitch, pause, let it sink, reel, twitch, twitch, pause, let it sink, reel, reel, twitch, twitch. You get the idea. Whereas if I was fishing a swim bait, pitch that out there, you don't have to do anything. You just reel. I mean, they're just so easy to use. So if you're a beginner watching these videos, try a swim bait. I mean, you can catch wherever there's speckled trout. You're pitching it. You pitch this under a dock where the speckled trout are. Just pitch it on there and reel. Catch them. You'll probably catch redfish too. If you're in the South Florida, you'll catch snook too, using the same thing. Pitching out on the grass flat, same deal. Again, you'll catch trout, redfish, snook, tarpon, depending on what part of Florida or where you are in the country. You can catch all these fish. It's just such an easy bait to use. And, you know, I guess a curly tail would be considered a swim bait too, because you don't do anything. You just pitch it out there and reel it in because it's a little curly tail. But to me, nothing puts out those low frequency vibrations better than a paddle tail. It's the paddle tail that I think is the key. You know, I started using paddle tails probably 10 years ago, 15. Whereas before I was just twitching and jerking, and I was just amazed at how much better, how many more fish you catch when you use a paddle tail. So a swim bait is great, and you can give it more action if you want to, but you don't have to, is my point. So you can catch all the speckled trout you want doing it that way. And the fish sees it, it feels right, you know, sounds right, whatever you want to call it, because they feel the vibrations in the water, and it looks good too. I mean, these baits are perfect representations of a whitebait. I mean, that thing looks exactly like a menhaden or any of these other fish, the bait fish that the speckled trout are going to be eating. So, just wanted to cover that because a lot of people just kind of forget about swim baits. They are such a great bait. They're so easy to use. They catch tons of fish. Go to fishyourassoff.com. Go to our pro tips page. It is full of articles and videos all about how to catch all these different fish. So go check that out. I think that's it for this one. So until next time, we'll see you then. All right. Bye-bye.